Metro Boom. Born as Leland Tyler Wayne in Missouri, he grew up and got countless Billboard hits, multiple Grammy nominations, dropped very successful albums by himself, and was awarded Producer of the Year by multiple organizations. And today I'm going to show you some very simple but very effective ways on how to get the Metro Boomin bounce and the Metro Boomin style with sampling old songs and making some crazy beats with them. So if y'all don't want to miss it, make sure to stay till the end because I have some serious sauce in here. And since I don't want to make the intro too long, let's get right into it. And since we all know Metro Boomin loves to sample old songs, I went to samplet.io, which is basically like Tinder for old samples or like for old music, and I pressed this random button right here till I found like a really nice sample that I really like. And then I went to FL, and as you can see I picked this sample right here, which I can't pronounce at all, but I'm gonna show it to you with no effects on. So I have the mode to stretch, but I pitched it up by 6 just that I don't get copyright claimed. I will just lower the velocity by a bit because as you can see it's pretty loud, and I'm gonna skip through the sample so you can get a hang of what it sounds like. Okay, I hope you all got a hang of what it sounds like. And as you can see right here, I basically just chopped it up. And as you can see, I pitched it up by 3. And I panned it 34% to the left, put the declicking mode to generic and the mode to stretch. Put it on the second mixer track, which I will show you all right away, because there's just a simple reverb on there with these settings right here. This EQ just to EQ out a lot of the harsh frequencies. And this EQ just to cut out some of the lows and some of the highs. And I had it 27% in mono. And as you can see, I have these two parts right here. This one is just the main piano. And this one right here is the guitar, which sounds really nice. And as you can see as well, I faded it in and out, basically just for like a smoother transition from the one sample to the other. And that's really all I did for chopping it up. And for the second part of the sample, I have this section right here, which is the main piano, I would say, and basically just looped it without the guitar. And then for the third part of the sample, I have the guitar, but like as you can see at the top left, I time stretch it really heavy and then just have the normal guitar playing right here. But I added some different things for the sample, which is this Luca OG perk loop, and it's automatically time stretch if I'm not mistaken. I put the declicking mode to generic, the mode to stretch, load the volume by a bit, and just have this EQ on there to filter out the lows and the highs by like a lot. And by the way, the Vital multi-kit will drop next Thursday, and y'all wanted some one-shots, so I put a lot of one-shots in there. Same as 100 phrases, I think 50 guitar phrases, like live and real guitar phrases I recorded with my guitars right here, and a lot of other things, so y'all make sure to stay tuned for that. But now for the perk loop, it's really simple, and I'm gonna just play it for like a few seconds. It sounds like this. Then for some variation in the second part, I went to Splice and I used the Sound Iron Vora phrase, and it was in G sharp minor, so I pitched it up by 4 just to bring it into the key. I load the volume by a lot, put the declicking mode to generic, the mode to stretch, because as you can see I chopped it up like a little bit just because the timing was a little bit off. And that's all I did for the vocal, and the finished vocal is sounding like this. And for the effects on these vocals, I have this for the delay too with these settings right here. This for the reverb, where I basically just played with the decay, the wet knob and the stereo separation. This simple sooth on its default settings, I just removed this knob right here. This EQ where I just cut out a lot of the lows and ducked some of the highs, and I had it 12% in stereo. And then for the bass line, I used the Scarby Rickenbacker bass with the double date preset, which is probably my favorite preset at the moment. And as you can see, I just laid down a very simple bass line, which contains an C3 and an F3, and it repeats the whole time. I didn't even randomize the velocities, and the finished bass line is sounding like this. And for the effects on this bass line, I have this sooth right here with these settings. Then this decapitator where I played with the drive, the tone and the style. This EQ just to cut out like the muddy lows, duck a few frequencies and duck some of the highs, or like remove some of the really high highs. And I had it 100% in mono. Then because I have like a little intro playing right here, as you can see I have this drum fill right there, which I basically pitched down by 1, load the volume by a lot, put the declicker mode to generic, and I have this EQ on there which basically does nothing. Then this EQ on there where I just removed some of the muddy lows, and this sooth on its hard setting setting and the depth to 4.9 and this reverb on its default settings I think, but I turned the mix to 35% and that's really all I did for this first sample because the main sample was so good. I didn't really have to add anything, but I still wanted to add something, not that I just used the sample. And I'm gonna show you the intro and these two parts right here, and the finished sample is sounding like this. And for the beat breakdown, it's really simple. All I did was drag in the sample, I put the declicking mode to generic, the mode to stretch, I lowered the volume by like a little bit, and I used the Luca hit hi-hat out of the Starstruck multi-kit, which is out now. Y'all make sure to get that, the link for that is in the description, and y'all will get a personalized 15% discount by just going on his website. And for the height pattern, I laid down a very simple pattern, which basically has just like a few rows. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger for y'all. And yeah, I basically just have some like little rows right here and right there, and just try to match the bounce of the sample a little bit, and that's what I achieved with this height pattern, which sounds like this. Then I have this Luca late night clap out of the Starstruck multi-kit again, and I just have the simple clap pattern, which is like the default clap pattern I would say. Then this Rex added open head, which always hits on the 1, 3, 5 and 7 just to layer the 808s with it. And this Luca Pfeff 808, which is obviously my favorite 808. You can find it right here as well. All I really just did was following the root notes of the sample, and I pitched it up by 3 at the end, so it's in D sharp minor. And I just have these D sharp minor notes and these G sharp minor notes, and it's a really simple pattern, but like when the whole drum pattern comes together, it really sounds full and good, but not too full in my opinion, so you can still rap over it. And I'm gonna show y'all the finished beat with the intro, and the finished beat is sounding like this. And now let's go on to the second sample and the second beat in Metro Boomin style. So I started off with this sample right here, and same as the sample I used before, I can't pronounce the name, but I picked the first section right here. I'ma just play this section right here so you can get a hang of the style of the sample again. And as you can see, I chopped it up and I basically just looped it the whole time. I pitched it up by 3, normalized it, put the declicking mode to generic, the mode to stretch, and for the effects on this like main sample, I just have the simple EQ where I had the mix to 44%, the decay to 1.64 seconds, and the pre-delay to 5.65 milliseconds. And I played with a low cut and obviously had a low cut right here, so basically cut out all the lows. And I'm gonna just play the sample so y'all can get a hang of what it sounded like. And the main sample, or like the main 4-bar sample, is sounding like this. And then I use Contact and I use this piano right here, and I use the Butter Soft preset. And as you can see, I just laid down a very simple pattern right here, which is basically like in B, D sharp and G sharp, which is basically in G sharp minor chord, but I inverted the G sharp. Then I have this B, D sharp, and then like in higher B, which would have been a B major chord, I think. And I have this A sharp and D sharp, which basically are building like the last chord, because as you can see right here, I just copied this whole thing over and randomized the velocities, which you can do with Alt and R, and the finished piano is sounding like this. And for the effects on this piano, I have this for the parametric EQ2, where I basically just cut out some of the frequencies that I didn't like. This Abbey Road vinyl stereo, where I basically have it on its default preset, but I turned down the noise, the crackle and the clicks. This RC20 with the vinyl 1 preset, but I just left the distortion, the magnetic and the EQ on. This simple Valhalla vintage verb with these settings right here. This Soothe on its hard setting and the depth to 4.6. This EQ where I just cut out some of the lows, ducked like a frequency that was a little bit too harsh, and ducked some of the highs. And that's really all I have for the mixing chain on my pianos. Then for the next thing I went to splice and I have this like texture loop, which is still melodic, but like it adds some texture to the sample. And this simple ARP, which I reversed though, and I pitch it up by 3, put the mode to stretch, declick mode to generic, and load the volume. And these two I just set to give the sample more depth and to make the sample more full. And both of them together sounded like this. And for the effects on the reverse thing, I have this Valhalla vintage verb with these settings, this EQ, and I panned it 31% to the right. And for the other texture, I have this cymatics illusion with these settings right here. This Valhalla vintage verb where I tweak the mix, the decay, the pre-delay, and the low cut. And this simple EQ where I just cut out a lot of the lows and a lot of the highs and ducked like a mid frequency that was too harsh. Then for the next thing, I have this recap plugin, which is basically just a simple bell. And I just laid down this pretty simple counter melody, which switches up at the end, but just like a little bit. And I randomized the velocities, and that's really all I can explain. And it sounds like this. And for the effects on this bell, I have the same effects that I had on like texture, but I just panned 31% to the left. Then for the next thing, I have this Roland SRX strings, and I use the full pizzicato MP preset. And as you can see again, it's a really simple pattern, which is basically just like a simple ARP or like just a simple top line. And I randomized the velocities again with Alt and R, and then just copied it over again. And this string pattern right here is sounding like this. And for the effects, I basically have nothing on there besides this EQ just to cut out some of the lows. And then before I show you all the beat breakdown in METRO BOOMIN style, I'm gonna show you the Scabi Rickenbacker bass with the default preset. And as you can see, I just picked the root notes of the sample again, like of the sampled sample or like of the sampled song. And I just laid down this pretty simple bass line. I didn't even randomize the velocities, and the bass line is sounding like this. And that's really all I did for the sample, and the finished sample is sounding like this. And for the beat breakdown, I obviously first just dragged in the sample, and the first thing I did for the beat was this hi-hat pattern, which is really simple. I basically just laid down a 2-step hi-hat pattern and then just have some like really simple rolls right here and right there. It's basically 2 rows for 4 bars, and then right here 2 rows again, but like 1 lower note as well. And that's really all I did for the hi-hat pattern, because that's what METRO does a lot. He has like really simple hi-hats, but like then like a really catchy sample, like a main sample, and that's what I try to achieve in his style. And the hi-hat pattern is sounding like this. Then I have this Luca Babe clap out of the Starstruck Multi kit again, and it's the default clap pattern, which sounds like this. Then for the next thing, I have this simple hit snare, which basically just complements the hi-hat and the clap pattern, and it sounds like this. Then this simple open net pattern, which just layers the 808 on the 1, 3, 5, and 7. And the main part of this beat, which is this 808 pattern, which is like a little bit more full than on the last beat, as you can see. But I tried to like go with the bounce a little bit, and I basically just laid down an 808 pattern, which just fitted the other drums. And that's what I did. And as you can see as well, I almost cranked the velocity up by 100% and have like a higher note right here, which transitions into the lower note then. And the hi-hat, clap, 808, and everything else. So basically the finished beat in METRO BOOMIN style is sounding like this. So yeah guys, if you all enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like and to subscribe to the channel. It would really help me and it would really mean a lot. And while you're at it, make sure to let me know what's your favorite Metro Boomin song or your favorite song that Metro Boomin has produced. And if you haven't already, make sure to check out Lucaland. The link for that is in the description and probably in the comments. You will get a personalized 15% discount code if you just go on the site. I would really appreciate if y'all check it out and get the Starstruck multi kit, which basically has almost everything besides one shots for your sample and beat making. And I don't want to make the outro too long, so leave a like, subscribe and comment and check out Lucaland. And yeah guys, see y'all next Sunday.